So Donna, what has just happened here is the groups generate a whole bunch of ideas for solving your challenge of how might I make my let me try that again. What's happened is the group has just generated a whole bunch of ideas for solving your challenge of how might I make my literacy lessons, why can't I say that, more engaging. Now what I'd like you to do is mark the hits. Now, and these are the ideas that are interesting, that are intriguing, that are workable, that are on target, that kind of sparkle at you, that you like, that kind of feel good. So mark as many hits as you'd like. Go right ahead and put some dots on them if you would.
So notice he has a lot of words for what hits are.
Interesting, sparkling, on target.
Donna is marking the hits.
And she has her dots, so he's given her.
I've also told Donna ahead of time to not use the yellow dots when marking on the yellow Post-its. Very tricky.
He also chose not to give her a certain number of dots. He let her use as many as she wanted. And we had a discussion about that. Because sometimes I limit them.
Sometimes I do too.
Yeah.
About ballpark, about 20%. So
Yeah.
if there's 50 ideas, 20% is maybe 10 options.
So we can really illustrate the technique, okay? What we're doing is just for illustration, I'm having to mark a bunch of these ideas so then you can see the clusters emerge. But basically what we're after is have the client to mark as many ideas as they want. But you've got probably close to 30, 40 ideas here. So, you know, the other thing is when we talk about highlighting, we like to use the words, and you take a look like they're on target, they're workable, they're relevant, they sparkle at you, they move in the right direction. What you don't want to go after when you're highlighting is to pick the ideas that are workable. Because then what you've done is you've set the converge way too tight. So we're looking for some whimsy, some speculation here. We're looking to still capture the essence of kind of the creative ideas in this mark here. So I don't want to shut Donna down too much on that. And the main thing is also don't just make sure that, as I mentioned, that you just go for the workable stuff. Because some of the stuff might not be workable at this stage of the game, but that's what the rest of the process is for.
And towards that end, sometimes we'll give special novelty dots that really encourage people to make sure that they hit some wild options.
And prior to this, they had reviewed the Convergent guidelines, the rules, so that they talked about seeking novelty. So they were informed of all of the things that would happen before this session.
Feels good? Okay, great. Okay, Donna, now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take a look at the hits, and I'd like you to cluster the hits together that relate to each other. So cluster the hits that relate to each other together, right over there.
So he's precise in his language.
And so when you're facilitating, the tee up for this is cluster the hits that relate to each other. So that's the key word, ask which ones relate to each other. And Donna's doing that right now.
Notice he's staying close to her as well. She's pretty good at this, so she doesn't need a lot of assistance, but he's making sure that he's available and paying attention, and so is the group.
And one of the watch-outs here sometimes is when people cluster is even though he said related, sometimes they'll put 10, 15 Post-its in one cluster. And at that point, we'll have them break the clusters down so that they're closely related.
That's good. So you don't say closely related unless they're having issues?
We say closely related. Usually, sometimes we'll say almost duplicates. But we'll
massage it.
We'll massage it.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll let them go ahead and do that to kind of get their head around it, depending on how good they are converging.
Terrific, great. All right, Donna, just so that we're all on the same page and so that we all kind of understand what you're at, would you just read these ideas to us? And you usually don't have to do this because the resource group's got a pretty good idea what the ideas are, but just to illustrate this, just go ahead and read these ideas to us if you would.
Sure. So give students a chance to create their own endings in a book, have students create the ABCs of their lives, create a class cookbook, have students write a letter to a character, set up a personal response reading log, and create a reader's theater so students can create their own script based upon the stories that they read in class.
Beautiful, Donna. Now, what does this cluster represent to you? Talk to me about that.
Having the students write their own personal responses to the characters in the stories that they read.
Is that okay? So just now do me a favor. Put a verb in front of that. You're close to it. You got having. Let's get rid of having and just put like a little bit more of an action verb in front of that.
Create a personal response reading log.
Okay. So you could actually, because I don't want you to lose the essence of what you said earlier about the students. So you could practically have students create a personal learn.
Perfect.
Okay, great. So have students create a personal response reading log. That's terrific. Great. Thanks, Donna. We're just going to square this off for you. Okay, great. And read us these right here if you would.
When teaching vowel sounds, have students dance in their seats every time they hear a vowel sound. Play a listen up game. Paper bag stories. You're going to place several objects or toys in a paper bag, and then you're going to have the students create their own story about the objects. And the outside alphabet scavenger hunt. They're going to try to find an item that begins with every letter of the alphabet.
Beautiful, Donna. What does this cluster represent to you?
Have students engaged in different hands-on activities.
So can we say engage students in different hands-on activities? Does that work for you?
Perfect.
Okay, great. So engage students in different
Sometimes they even need more help doing
hands-on
this.
activities. Is that what you said? Okay, hands-on activities. Great, that's terrific. Great. Okay, let's go to this one next.
Okay. Have students create a cartoon of their favorite scene. Have students create their own cartoon strip.
Okay, Donna, what does that cluster represent to you?
Have students create their own cartoon strip using the characters in the story.
So have students create their own cartoon characters? Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so you have two other here right here. What's this one?
Assign a series of hands-on independent follow activities. That
Beautiful.
would probably go here.
You really want to move there? You can leave it right there if you want to.
Well, this would go along with that. Though,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
So move it up.
All right, good. Okay, good.
And then this one would actually move up to there.
Okay,
Play
okay.
3 nouns. It's
All right,
follows
great.
with that.
Now, also, I want to just tell you, too, if this didn't, whoa, there we go. If this didn't relate to that, what we could do is just circle that, and that's an idea unto its own. You don't have to
Okay.
restate that as a cluster.
Okay.
Okay, so what we did was first Donna marked the hits. She clustered the hits together into themes. She restated the cluster as an action. And now what she'll do is she'll take a look at this and select these to move further. And that's highlighting.
This did not demonstrate going beyond highlighting.
Correct.
It stops right at highlighting.
So one of the
Yeah, for a minute.
So one of the other tips would be that highlighting can be used in different parts of the process. You can use highlighting in formulating challenges to help converge or generating ideas. It's not specifically and only used in generating ideas.
So this was an example of generating ideas.
Right.
And it could be whatever you're generating. It could even be if there were lots of criteria that you were generating and you wanted to make some decisions around criteria. Maybe. That's not quite
maybe.
as, you know.
But basically, anytime you have a diverged list, highlighting is sort of your power convergent tool to help really narrow down.
And depending on how good they are at converging, sometimes they need some think time. So this client was pretty good. She was able to think on her feet and work through that. She didn't need additional help except a little bit from the facilitator. Sometimes they'll even have the resource group give them some suggestions if they're really lost on what a cluster means. And of course, they're the ones that have to ultimately decide what it is.
Yeah, and I work with a lot of clients where oftentimes they'll have the resource group contribute and hit and give their input on which options they think, should be considered, and then have the client really cluster and restate and then pick the clusters to move forward. So
this particular tool is when we have lots of ideas to be narrowed down. And then the clusters you can take 20, 30 ideas down to 5,
Yeah.
which is pretty good, and
Yeah.
decide from there what you want to do with it. So it's not the end of the process
Not
by
at
any
all.
means. By any means, this is just one tool.